Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. If you didn't check out our last video, we talked about Crown Jewel. That was just a couple days ago. That is our full PLE review. Make sure you guys go check that out. That is on every single platform. That is Spotify, Apple Podcast, as well as YouTube. But as for today, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to go over the aftermath, which in case is Monday Night Raw, to see how things transpired after the show. Same goes for SmackDown. We will talk the same thing about SmackDown this coming weekend. As well, we will talk NXT and AEW Dynamite as they went head-to-head last night. Of course, due to the presidential election, NXT was switched over to Wednesday night, which was last night, so they clashed with AEW head-to-head. So we will go over both of those shows, the highs, the lows, the in-between and all, see which one was good, which one was bad, which one gained more interest out of people, which didn't. So we'll dissect going into all of that later on in the show. But let's start off with Monday Night Raws. We'll jump straight into things. Let's start off, Brian, with the very top of the show. So obviously when it comes to Monday Night Raw, right, everybody shows up to the arena with their coffee and their luggage and their big old smile. It's just like they just love to hammer that home.
It's like NBA on TNT.
Exactly. All the athletes just show up to the arena and everything. Like it's a competitive elite sport. Look.
Doing all that. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. But
I get
don't think
it.
It really needs to be part of the wrestling show all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's not even that. It's just like if you want to do it like maybe before like a big said matchup, maybe a title match that you see every so often. But it's getting to the point, Brian, where it's like it's so redundant to where it just becomes stale. And it's like you no longer feel like that spark at the top of the show. It's just like, it's Cody Rhodes with a smile in his 5-piece suit, or it's freaking it's Bianca and Jade. They're showing up to the arena, or whatever the case may be, right?
I just say, you know what? If we're gonna do this, let's give a shout out to the people we don't see. Let's do this for the refs, man. The refs arriving, the cameraman, that gets the great shot, dude. That's
something, right? I feel that, bro, for sure. So we start the night off with all that being said. We start the night off with Liv Morgan as she is celebrating her big victory. It's Monday Night Morgan, as she likes to call it, but they're interrupted by Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, stating that they're not the only ones that left with gold or a W back at Crown Jewel. So there's some bickering going on. Also teasing, I guess, a split maybe for the near future within Jade and Bianca. Like Liv Morgan's like, hey, we're actual friends. We have a bond here. Without those championships, you guys aren't anything. This is obviously leading to a tag match, probably with Liv and Raquel in the future, probably going up against Jade Cargill and Bianca. And when it's all said and done, this sets up a battle royal, because what's WWE and setting up number one contenders, then number one contenders matches, battle royals, and for the entire first tornado tag, your sister's ass, whatever it is, and this is the first half an hour of the show was dedicated to this battle royal with people like Selena Vega, people like Ivy Nile, people like Maxine Dupree, people like Lyra Valkyria, you name it. So Liv Morgan and Raquel, they played a part in this match, eliminating Jade and Bianca in this match, as they were part of the last Final Four in this matchup, as I believe they ended up hightailing it through the stage or through the crowd. It's weird that Raquel is also the one retreating, also being the chicken shit heel, when I thought that she was supposed to be like the heavy set muscle. Like Liv retreating, that makes sense, but like you would think that Raquel would
Raquel, that's why you're there.
That's why you're here, and here you are retreating. Like that's just kind of weird. Yeah. But anyway, so it comes down to Lyra Valkyria and Iyo Sky. Iyo Sky is the one that wins this matchup. Major slow golf clap for Iyo Sky. Much love to her, as she'll get the said opportunity. You think that she's probably going to get this at Survivor Series, maybe at Saturday night's main event. knowing this company, Brian, they'll probably just do it next week on Raw, maybe in 2 weeks or something
hope,
with some bullshit
right.
like that. So real quick, Brian, before I get to you, there's a lots in this show that we'll definitely go over. Major kudos to Iyo Sky. When Iyo Sky gets a title opportunity and gets some type of shine, I ain't going to complain at all. As long as there's something beyond the realm for Iyo Sky, then that's totally fine in regards to this decision. I just wish, man, that again, we do better ways to set up number one contenders, right? If you want to make Iyo Sky the number one contender, like that's great. That's fantastic. But like do it in a way where it's going to create a spark, right?
Yeah.
We're on the verge of WrestleMania season. We're on the verge of Raw going to Netflix. Like we got to start gaining some interest and some spark leading into that. To kind of just do this redundant and just nonsensical battle royal, it's just like what are we really doing here, you know? So that's all I got, man. Really, it's that, you know, kudos to Iyo Sky, love her to death. It's just I wish we would go back to the days to where we would actually set up number one contenders the right way instead of just nonsensical battle royals and, like you said, tornado tags, fatal four ways. You know, speaking of fatal four ways, we're gonna get to another one of them fucking matches later. Brian, what are your thoughts, man, to start the show off?
A few takeaways, man. I do like, you know, while it was very small, they planted that seed of the eventual, you know, rift between Bianca and Jade, which I mean that has WrestleMania all over it for me. I think that's going to be a WrestleMania match. So, you know, we'll see what transpires here in the next few months, but yeah, you know, I think. You know, it's hard. I'm ready again. Like I think I said this last time. Like if you're gonna keep them a tag team, then really build a tag team division around them, and make them the dominant tag team that obviously they are. Or you gotta split them up here soon because this is redundant and unnecessary. So. I like that, you know, because I really do think that'll be the WrestleMania match or a WrestleMania match. Iyo, I love her winning and getting another shot. And I know she's gonna lose, but I'm just holding out hope that maybe because I'm like I said previously, I'm okay with Liv losing the title. I think she would be fine without the title at this point. So, you know, I haven't heard, and I don't know a way that you would do it. I haven't heard anything about like Oscar returning, but maybe if there's an Oscar return to help Iyo, yeah, I'd be all about that. So yeah, that's all in all. It's, you know, I don't have that much negative to it. The Raquel thing, yeah, it's still kind of, it's not really finding its footing quite yet. I don't think. But, you know, we'll see. You know, I expect Bianca and Jade, if that is the plan, a WrestleMania match, that's going to be a damn good match, man. Like, absolutely. For sure. I got my popcorn ready for that one. So, yeah, it was an okay start. Okay. You know, just it wasn't much, but it's the little planting of the seed of, you know, hopefully what comes next. So.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, clearly they want to, if they are going to do this split with Jade and Bianca, and also too, it's just like, okay, you're teasing that, then maybe go more, I guess you can say, in depth with it instead of just going straight into this battle royal to where, I don't know, it's just like, again, it's little things like that to where you're just trying to, it's like, it's obvious that you're just trying to fill up the show, you know? But yeah, no, you're 100% right about Jade and Bianca. I mean, we've said it now for ever since Jade has gotten here. We've talked about all the dream matches with Rhea Ripley, and of course, Bianca's one of them. So yeah, I mean,
even Shayna Baszler. I'd love to see that match.
Shayna Baszler,
and even down the road, you know, again, she's green now, but I mean, fucking Lash Legend is. I mean, she might be bigger than Cargill, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you book Lash Legend properly, I mean, now she's technically a part of the main roster. Again, her booking, since she's pretty much has been in the main roster and with the rest of this women's tag division, has been odd as well.
Yeah,
like they haven't.
I mean, I'm talking like maybe a couple years down the road.
We'll see. Exactly. Yeah. You would just wish that just with Lash Legends part, like her booking would be
Yeah.
again more of a spark instead of just like, oh, that's right, like Lash Legend is part of the main roster now, you know. So no, absolutely 100%. And you would think also too, especially with Rhea Ripley being on the shelf, that they're most likely, if they're going to do this split and continue, I guess, this said friction, I guess, with Jade and Bianca continuing to tease like, oh, everything's good. Like, you know, you're just talking out of your ass. Like, everything's fine. Like, we're stronger together than ever. We got these tag titles. And then they lose these tag titles to most likely Liv and Raquel. That's going to continue Liv's, you know, stock and her asset as a heel to when Rhea Ripley comes back. And, you know, obviously, whether it's WrestleMania, who knows? I mean, Rhea Ripley will be coming back to take that title away from Liv. So we'll see, man.
And also, I think the timing kind of, especially for like the Bianca and Jade thing, like, remember, because they always do. I mean, after Survivor Series here and you get into the holidays and Christmas, you know, they're going to coast, you know. I mean, people, you're not going to have, I mean, what, maybe well, I mean, I guess they're still going to have the shows, but it's, you know, they'll have the holiday show and the whatever. So really, like, after Survivor Series, I don't, you know, it's going to be a lull until they kick off at Netflix in January. So
yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I mean, everything somewhat makes sense. I just wish that there was just more of a spark to start the show instead of just feeling like a drag, if that makes sense. So But then we have the Wyatt Six, right? It's been a minute since we've talked about the Wyatt Six, as they've been kind of just stop and go in regards to, they had their feud with American Made, and we're going to get to American Made and Chad Gable because I got some shit to talk about with Chad Gable's booking that continues to baffle me, but we'll get to that. But the Wyatt Six, man, so they interrupt the broadcast, you know, in like Wyatt-esque form. And it's the Miz who's tied up in a chair with the Uncle Howdy mask. You know, Bo Dallas, he rips the tape off of his mouth, the Miz, you know, speaking in riddle like Wyatt-esque form. You know, going back to the Miz-tourage back in 2017, you know, obviously speaking, you know, with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, and kind of like Bray Wyatt being the, I guess, the, what's the word I'm looking for? In regards to, I guess, just like what's keeping the group together, right? And the aura of like the Fiend's gimmick, for example, like he never forgets. And I guess that type of symbolization is like similar to this, right? Where Bo Dallas remembers what he did with the Miz, with Miz Entourage, like, oh, I'm going to make you a star that everyone's going to be proud of. And clearly that never came to fruition in regards to how that ended up with Curtis Axel. So they're playing that type of story, which, okay, that makes sense of why the Miz is being targeted right now. And the Miz is like all frantic. He's like, listen, I'm not with Final Testament. You clearly want Final Testament. Bo Dallas is like, no, bro, we don't care about Final Testament. We wanted you, bro. And he puts the tape back over his mouth. You had Dexter Lumis in his Mercy the Buzzard mask, like jump out at the Miz and did like that jump scare type of Bray Wyatt finish or whatever. So dude, I mean, a great visual. I mean, the whole visual in the presentation was great. And obviously it makes sense to why they're going after this group. Final Testament is obviously going to play a part in this because Miz obviously needs some help, I guess, to form this said team. It's interesting, right? Because the Miz and Final Testament, right? And I said this before, again, I get what they're doing and everything. It's just the Miz and Final Testament just doesn't fit. And I feel like there's just a massive disconnect of like a business relationship there. I don't know. It just doesn't fit at all. Like, why, if you want to do Wyatt Six and Final Testament, like just without the Miz, because you don't need the Miz to tell that story. Like, and Karrion Kross, like, you can argue like this is a dude that has tried to split up the New Day, that's tried to do a lot of dastardly deeds, right? Because that's the Wyatt Six's motivation, is to go after people that has disobeyed their family and their friends and loved ones, right? That's why they targeted Chad Gable. So it makes sense for the Miz to be targeted, but man, to mix both of these two up when they could be individually going after or having a feud with this group, it just doesn't fit. It's like Paul Ellering, right? Whenever he comes back, because he got a mandible claw a couple of weeks ago, and the
Mhm.
Miz, right? That's just a weird tandem. That's like Jake Roberts teaming with a bunch of cruiserweights. That doesn't fit the aura of his character. Oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute. That's if you watch AEW, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway,
Mhm.
so Brian, man, I'll send this over to you, bro. What are your thoughts about this vignette segment with the Wyatt Six and the Miz?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I thought it was a great segment. Just the visual and the words, and I even, I think it was you made a post a week or so ago, and it was Karrion Kross and Scarlett, like in the hotel room or whatever. Man, I thought that was brilliant. Like
Yes, there's
where
yeah,
Scarlett comes in and she's like, "Oh, the Wyatt Six took the Miz." He's like, "Huh? How long? How long's he been gone? 30 minutes. Oh, he's dead. He's definitely dead." Like it was just so fucking good, man.
yes. Oh, it was good. Yeah,
But you're right. There's like I don't know, like if you wanted to do this with the Miz and the Wyatt Six, cool. It's I don't know. I feel like with all of it, and I still got to see, I guess, where they go with the Miz and the Wyatt Six. Like it's kind of
yeah.
all right there. It feels like, but then there's something
There's a
that just
massive
doesn't quite
disconnect.
hit. Like
Yeah.
yeah, but aspects of it like are so good, man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it, it was just Carrion and Scarlett in that environment setting, like that little 1 minute vignette thing. It was so good. It was so good in the aspect of the story. Um, yes, I would rather, like to see just a final testament, a Wyatt Six with. So yeah, I don't know where exactly it's going. Some of it I really really like, and then there's just that question mark of
Yeah.
what's the end game, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Because again, it's just for me, it's just the Miz and Final Testament. It's just a weird pairing, and it just doesn't connect at all. It just doesn't fit. Like Miz and Final
Yeah,
Testament, that just doesn't fit at all. But yeah, Karrion Cross is fantastic. I've said it for
that's
I've said it for before this
I know,
podcast has been
man.
a
Like I'm
thing, bro.
serious. Like even in this little, like they with this Final Testament and Carrying Cross, like man, fucking do something with these guys and
Yeah.
woman.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Absolutely, dude. And there was another. I think it was the week after to where before the Miz was kidnapped and everything, right? So like Karrion Cross approached the Miz and he was like, "All right, so what's the game plan, right?" And Miz is like, "All right, when the Wyatt Six show up, we all run." And then Karrion Cross is like, he was fucking fantastic. I said this on social media.
Yeah,
It's where like the change of his pitch and his personality change was
yes.
just so good. He's like trying to be friends or friendly with the Miz, and then the Miz interrupts him. And he's like, "Listen, hey!" And then he like comes back down there. He's like, "When you find him," he's like, "and if you don't find him, I'm going to break your legs." Like
Yeah, it's
it was
good, man.
so good,
Yep,
man. Oh my
yep.
dude. Carrying Cross, bro, is freaking fantastic, man. And you question, right, because of Carrying Cross's booking as of late. Like we all know, like smart, intelligent fans know how good and what Carrying Cross has to offer in this company, right?
And
Regardless of people,
this faction as a
faction in
whole.
general. Yeah, absolutely right. And listen, if people like it, whether they dislike it, that's fine. That's their personal preference, right? But you can't tell me that not just Carrying Cross, but like you said, Brian, this faction like doesn't have a place, right? And
Yeah,
maybe this is a start to where maybe you have this involvement with the Wyatt Six to catapult them for whatever they do. I doubt that
right.
there's even a plan after this with the Final Testament. I'm sorry, I just don't. But man, you see Karrion Cross and how he cuts these promos to where his personality changes, the pitch in his tone and in his delivery. It's not a lot of wrestlers in that locker room or in on that roster can do what Karrion Cross can do. That's
No.
just pure fucking talent. It's not just because I like the dude. It's just that the dude has such raw talent. Again, is he the
And to
great?
be, it's
Go ahead,
a
Brian. Yeah.
lot of people can do it probably, but not many can do it convincingly.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. No, absolutely, right, for sure. It's listen, is he the greatest, in-ring performer? No, but guess what, bro? He doesn't need to be. He doesn't,
No.
like, I always say that about Bray Wyatt all the time. I say that even about The Undertaker, even though The
Yeah.
Undertaker, for his character is one of the greatest in-ring performers as well. You can argue to that, but even in that shtick with Karrion Kross, like that smoke and mirrors, supernatural, like, you don't need to do X, Y, and Z in the ring to be a captivating storyteller and performer. And Karrion Kross just checks off so many boxes, along with
Yeah.
Scarlett, who is tremendous by his side, as well as Authors of Pain. Authors of Pain, they're booking. Every time I see Authors of Pain, it's so
how
fucking
these
baffling.
guys aren't like, I don't know, man. I mean, they're two powerhouse dudes. I mean,
Right.
they don't need to be technical wrestlers. And I don't know what if there is an issue. I have never really seen any issues or major botches or anything. But like, how you can't book a tag team division with a tag team like that? I mean, damn.
Yeah, like, dude, they got rolled up a couple weeks ago by Kofi Kingston. I don't understand how you sit in a boardroom and think to yourself, Authors of Pain getting rolled up by little Kofi Kingston. Let's be honest, everybody. Much love to Kofi Kingston, but he's an average sized dude compared to
Yeah.
Authors of Pain. That's just how it is. And to sit there and go, yeah, them getting rolled up by Kofi, that's not going to make them look like a fucking schmuck and a goof and a joke and a clown. Like, I don't
I might.
understand how that decision is approved. To protect the aura and the mystique of Authors of Pain, and in this I don't understand how that's approved. I really don't. It just doesn't make sense.
I hope I don't put my foot in my mouth right now, because I'm sure like internet people would be like, no, this happened then and that. But like back in my day, or early 80s, like, right, you take like two great tag teams, right? The Road Warriors and the Rock and Roll Express, right? You know, maybe it happened a here or there or whatever. Yeah, the Rock and Roll Express. Okay, you want to book them to beat the Road Warriors, whatever. Fine, they're a great tag team. They're the baby face. They're good. They're great. Tell me if the fucking Hawk or Animal ever got rolled up by Ricky fucking Morton. I doubt that fucking happened.
No.
No.
Just never, bro. No, absolutely not. It's just like,
yeah, man.
how can you take the character seriously when that happens, bro? It's just like,
I'm gonna get into that on AEW too, man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so up next was the War Raiders. They defeated New Day. Okay. I mean, listen, it's great that the War Raiders got their name back. I just hope that there's a plan. They're racking up W's, which is good.
Like, I
right?
think they're going to be tag champs.
They're probably going to be tag champs. That's good. But the question is too, right? I always say this too, Brian. It's just like, it's cool that, okay, yeah, they're going to be tag champions, maybe over against the the Judgment Day. There's so many days in this fucking tag division, but so okay, cool. They're gonna win tag titles, but I always say this all the time, like, just because you're holding on to tag titles, you're putting the title on somebody, doesn't really necessarily mean it's good booking for these individuals. So you gotta still, involve them in something intriguing and have a plan for them moving forward, and build the tag division around them. So we'll see. And they're continuing to tease this New Day split. I think they're doing like a 10-year anniversary thing for the New Day, to where they're going to celebrate 10 plus years of the New Day. Maybe that's when the turn happens with Xavier Woods. Hopefully, again, when the turn happens, cool. It's long overdue.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish that WWE does is that you got to involve Big E in that scenario. You have to, whether it's like some type of promo segment, however you want to go about it. Doesn't have to take a bump or anything. Obviously, we know about his health concerns and everything, but he's like, when that split happens, he's got to be involved in that. He has to be. I'm sorry. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I request from WWE. If you're going to do this New Day celebration, celebrating 10 years of the New Day, Big E's got to be a part of it. He's got to be a part of the show. I'm sorry. If he's not a part of it, to where majority of this New Day run has been him involved in it, that would just be, I don't know, weird. Yeah. So, all right. So the War Raiders win a match. All right, cool. They're going to win tag titles. Probably cool. They got their names back. That's all a start. But now the question is, like, what are you doing to get people's interest in what they're doing? That's the question. And I guess they're heels too, right? You would think that they're heels right now.
I guess.
And they're going up against Judgment Day, who are also
right.
heels.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can go on for hours, but I'm not going to get into that. You guys know how I feel about it. Heel versus heel. It does nothing for either team. It's so fucking weird. Oh, but James, heel versus heel can be fun. Okay, but not all the time, bro. We see this we just saw it at Crown Jewel. Liv Morgan and Nia Jax. Like, I don't understand how you have one person who's a heel getting out heeled by the other is making the other heel look good. It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
The booking of it doesn't make sense. We get to the Bloodline. This, I believe, was hour number 2. So Sami Zayn comes out. He greets the crowd in Arabic, right? So the crowd is going nuts. They're pretty much still in Saudi. This was, of course, the day after Crown Jewel. And he's interrupted by main event Jey Uso. So Jey Uso wants answers, and he talks about, was that kick to the face by Roman? I need to know, like, was that intentional? And before Sami Zayn can answer anything, Jimmy Uso comes out. He rushes to the ring, and he's like, yo, he can't be trusted. Clearly that was intentional. We can't trust him, Uso. And Sami Zayn's like, dude, you're the one to talk. Do we need to go over your track record of what you just did at SummerSlam, bro? And Jimmy's like, listen, I ain't got to explain nothing to you, right? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then Sami Zayn's like, dude, listen, like, you don't get it, bro. Like, I don't hate you. He's like, he's like, I'm not the bad guy. Jimmy's like, I'm not the bad guy here. Like, I don't got to explain nothing to you. And Sami Zayn's like, bro, like, you're right. Like, I'm not mad at you. Like, but you just don't understand. Like, it's not that you're the bad guy. You make bad decisions, right? That's your problem. And then he points his attention over to Jey. He's like, listen, Jey, I love you. But unfortunately, with this whole situation, like, I'm out. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm out. And deuces, right? And he walks out of the ring. And then Jey Uso, he kind of like trying to plead his case. He's like, listen, I want you there on SmackDown. They're like, let's rehash this like family, right? I see Jimmy Uso, I see Jey Uso, and I see Sami Uso, like, right, bringing the whole Sami Uso shtick back. He's like, listen, as a family, let's rehash this on SmackDown. Come to SmackDown and let's settle this. And I believe Sami Zayn accepted his request. And so you're going to see Sami Zayn on SmackDown. You're going to see confrontation with him and Roman Reigns. And that's how we're going to get to War Games. I thought this was well done, man. And listen, Brian, we talked about whether Sami Zayn should be a part of this. Should he not be a part of this? And obviously, both sides have very valid value arguments to the conversation, right? But clearly they're adding Sami Zayn involved into this.
Oh, yeah.
You can also see, of course, and you even mentioned too, like, should he be the front up, or what's the word I'm looking
like
for?
The focal point.
The focal point.
Yes,
exactly. The focal. Should he be the focal point? There's an argument to be made that he really shouldn't be, because it should be Bloodline on Bloodline. There's no question. There's a lot of things to go back and forth over. Yeah. But for what this segment was, man, I really like this a lot. I really did like it. Everybody, for what they were given in this segment, did very, very well. The confrontation with Jimmy and Jey, with Sami as well as Jimmy. He's like, listen, before Jey accepted me, right? It was me and you got on the same page before anybody accepted me. So they're trying to, again, kind of go back in time, some nostalgia with the whole OG Bloodline and everything. So I like the again, for what we're going to go throughout the rest of this show and the filler that was in this show, this at least had some legs to stand on, and it's getting you excited for SmackDown coming up. And again, the brand split, bro. I can also go on for hours about that, man. We got to get rid of this brand split.
Stop it already.
Just enough of it, man.
It never had to. Well, maybe like back in the day, it had its place and it was cool and whatever, but it doesn't have to be a thing anymore.
Right. Clearly, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. They're not even trying to make it make sense anymore. Just get rid of it, dude. If you're not trying to make it make sense within this brand split, just don't have it anymore. It's a crutch at this point that just needs to be just thrown out the window. And that's all I got. So Brian, what are your takes, man, on Sami Zayn, the Usos, and this Bloodline segment?
Yeah, I mean, you know where I stand on the whole Sami Zayn and the Bloodline thing. But for this segment, yeah, the segment was good, man. I enjoyed the segment. It does, you know, I'm looking forward to see what happens, you know, tomorrow night on SmackDown. So yeah, you know, it's again, it's not that I ever thought this would be like a bad. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
I just personally would prefer it another way. But yeah, the segment was good. Like all three of the guys are, you know, telling the story of how, you know, it's going to culminate very well. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. All right, I got to get into Chad Gable here before we get to the main event. Chad Gable.
I think I missed this whole thing, so I'm interested to see.
Oh,
Yeah.
get ready, bro. It's very simplistic, but it's a bunch of whole what the fuck in this situation, right? So you have a match between Dragon Lee and Chad Gable, right? Dragon Lee, guys, defeats Chad Gable.
Huh?
Like, guys, on what planet? Listen, much love to Dragon Lee, bro. Like, seriously, this whole LWO shtick, man. I'm sorry. You have Rey Mysterio out there. This LWO shtick could not be any more just stale and just completely flat.
Yeah.
And you have Chad Gable, right? Who legit few months ago was a part of a storyline with Otis that was legit taking headlines from people, right? And and that whole turn completely fell flat. And ever since then, and then you go into the whole Wyatt 6 thing that was just also very redundant too. Let's be honest. All they did was brawl nonstop. You had matches galore. Again, guys, you can argue with me all you want. Just having redundant brawls and matches is not a storyline. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Yeah.
But ever since then, bro, because you rushed that turn to get to the Wyatt 6, and it hasn't benefited Otis. He's right back into irrelevancy, and Chad Gable is close to that right now, and it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
This dude is a great in-ring performer. This dude has a shtick that people have connected with, and the guy is completely irrelevant, and he's losing a fucking match to Dragon Lee. Are you fucking kidding me? What are we doing? Guys, come on, bro. Like, in what fucking world does this make sense for a team, a faction that just formed, and the leader of your said faction just lost to fucking Dragon Lee? That's no shade to Dragon Lee. It's really not.
No, yeah, not
but
at all.
It's the fact that he's part of this LWO shtick that's not going anywhere, and that's completely flat. And you rush to a backstage segment or to a commercial, so nobody even remembers it. It didn't even benefit Dragon Lee at all. Like, you just formed this American-made group, and they look nothing like chumps. And this is the problem with Triple H, bro. This is the problem I have with this booking. Every single time I come onto this podcast and I speak into this microphone, it's guys like Montez Ford, who's also voked out his frustration about his stop and go. Clearly, Chad Gable, you can argue, has the exact same thing.
And the Creed brothers.
The Creed brothers, too.
Like, yeah.
And but specifically for Chad Gable, we thought he was going to be in that mid-card Intercontinental Championship picture as a face. They pulled him back down. They gave it to Sami Zayn. Now they gave him this heel role in this big feud with Otis. And he
was killing it. And he was killing it.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm baffled.
Yep.
Right? And this dude and his character should be, again, you have American Made, you got the Wyatt 6, and you got Final Testament. All of these people.
And the Judgment Day.
And the Judgment Day. These people should be the main focal point of your show, doing captivating shit. And it's the complete fucking opposite. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And it's so fucking frustrating beyond belief, man. Brian, real quick before we get to the main event, your thoughts about this match, at least for what I was able to put on paper.
Yeah, kind of the same, man. I don't get it. I mean, especially within the last year or so. I mean, yeah, Chad Gable's fucking everything he's been in pretty much. He's killed it, man. The Creed brothers, while they have work to do, and probably even more so like Mike and promos, but you got Gable there, so
yeah,
that kind of covers that. But even with the Creed brothers, I mean, these guys are in ring, I mean, yeah, they can do a lot of shit. They look great. Again, they could be a dominant tag team, but and Ivy Nile, while she's short, she's a fucking powerhouse, man.
Right.
Like,
And they look
uh,
nothing, and they look nothing like chumps, bro. They've done
yeah,
nothing but lose. They've
yep,
lost constantly to the Wyatt Six because they're a new faction. Because you rushed that to get to this is what I mean about Triple H, man. I keep saying this like a broken record. This guy either just doesn't care. I say this about Vince McMahon too. For some certain talents and storylines, he either doesn't care or he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
let
Clearly,
me. Sorry,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Brian.
Go ahead.
So again, just to kind of finish this up, right? It's just unfortunate at the end of the day, right? It's just with Chad Gable, the dude is so uber talented, and like you said, Brian, he's found a shtick to where it's working, right? It was working, and he was being more than just the in-ring performer. And I've even said this too, and even when he was getting that sort of push, it's just like, how high is this company truly on Chad Gable? Like, are they
Right.
really going to push this dude, or is he just going to be stop and go? And that's what his booking has been, Brian, not just within this new shtick with American Made and with Alpha Academy recently, but for his entire career. And it's so beyond frustrating, beyond belief. But yeah, Brian, your final thoughts.
Two things real quick. Let me go back to the War Machine real quick, because I think they're kind of in the same boat. While like, yeah, you brought them back, they got their name back. The winning streak, which it looks like is going to be leading to a world title run for them. But you're right. Like, what after that? You've done all this, and you look around at the tag division, even bringing Valhalla back, and like
Right.
the mythic god, things that you can play with the War Machine of Valhalla and fucking Judgment Day, New Testament, the Wyatt Six, like all of them, all of that fucking works. You could play off of all of that shit.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah,
And
and
yes,
and to
and
Chad Gable, man, I wonder if this really is a thing. Like no shit, because I think it might have been Kevin Nash that had said it, and it might have been a while back, but it was something along the lines of like when the wrestling business died or whatever, and he was talking about when Eddie Guerrero faced Chris Benoit for the title, and just
mm,
talking about their size, basically their stature, right? I mean, fucking Triple H, and maybe has some of the mindset is like Chad Gable fallen into that. Well, he's great. It's awesome, but we can't make him champion. Like,
that's
I don't know,
that's
man.
that's bullshit. You know why I know that's bullshit, Brian? They're pushing somebody. Again, this is the women's side of things, but like you're pushing Liv Morgan, who's also not very tall and not very high stature.
But
So
I
I
think
just
I think with women though, it's a little bit different. Like as far as with the men and the women,
I
I think there's
guess
a little bit of a difference there. I'm
that's
just throwing a
fair.
theory out there. I don't know, but yeah, like Chad Gable has everything you could ask him to have, and he's been performing at 100%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, and
what more
granted,
do you want from the guy?
seriously, dude. And again,
Yeah.
Kevin Nash to a degree has a point, and I've even said it too. Like you have
No,
to, the
right.
persona and the look has a part, and obviously,
But
we
he
go
was dead
back.
wrong about Benoit and Guerrero.
Oh yeah, no,
With those two
absolutely.
individuals, no, that made fucking sense because they were that good.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, to a certain degree, I think Kevin Nash has a point. But when it comes to now, it's just like, you see it from people like Chad Gable and many others. I mean, Rey Mysterio for a very long time up until this point, to where sometimes like even like Ilya Dragunov, and who knows what Ilya Dragunov's going to do when he comes back from injury, but the dude has also all of the tools, but you also
Hmm.
question because of his height and stature, how far is this dude going to go? It's just
Right.
I never like to make that whole, I
I don't
guess
either, but it's there.
it is there. Yeah, it's just like, oh my god, because again, it also comes down to the point to where, listen, again, he has a certain point, but there are certain talents to where if they
That
are
rise above it. Yeah,
that rise
it doesn't
above it.
matter.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Daniel Bryan is also one of them,
Yep.
right? For many, many
Shawn
years.
Michaels Fucking
Shawn
Shawn Michaels
Michaels,
was.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's many people that maybe we're forgetting, but like, I don't know, to a degree, that argument is valid, but then there's also certain circumstances to where it's complete bullshit. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Just like if your argument to me to where when you have a guy that has all the tools, has everything underneath the sun to be captivating and to be a polarizing star, but your only setback is, oh, he's a little short. Come
I
on, man.
know. Right.
Stop. Come on.
Absolutely.
So who knows, man? I can go on for hours about Chad Gable and his horrific booking, but we would be here for 3+ hours, and I don't want to do that to everybody. So, all right, let's just get to this. Let's get to this main event, man. So you had a number one contenders match earlier on in the show with the women, and now here you have it with the men. This was a fatal 4-way match to determine the number one contender. You have Damian Priest, you have Dominic Mysterio, you have Sheamus, and you have Seth Rollins. So you had Damian Priest win this matchup. Damian Priest ends up winning this match, pinning Dominic Mysterio, by the way. Keep that in mind, right? Dominic Mysterio pinned Damian Priest last week, and here's the 50-50 booking, right? Where Damian Priest is now pinning Dominic. It's just so weird. But like, what was the point of Priest getting rolled up, by the way? He got rolled up last week, right? And but he looked like a beast after the match. I'm like, okay. And that ending was very awkward because clearly they had, I also talked about the time botch on social media because they had 4 minutes left, Brian. And you can tell from like the referee and Damian Priest just stand in the middle of the ring, what felt like for several minutes because they had nothing to fill up time with. So you had a botch there. You had a botch with Damian Priest getting rolled up, as it was just, it was a mess. So you did all of that last week just for now to do 50-50 booking to where Damian Priest is pinning Dominic. I mean, come on, bro. They also, Bronson Reed came out in this match to cost Seth Rollins the match. So that's going to continue for Bronson Reed to get his ultimate victory, I guess. I'll get into that maybe later on. But Damian Priest wins. Gunther comes out. They exchange a look in the middle of the ring, and that was your show. Guys, if I would be lying to you if I gave two single shits about another Damian Priest versus Gunther match, because I just saw this at SummerSlam, and I don't need to. Again, if you were to do this like Brian, maybe several more months in the future, right? But you just did this set at SummerSlam, right?
Yeah.
At least make it feel somewhat new and fresh if you were to do this months and months in advance. You just did this at SummerSlam, and I don't know if it's because of the fact, again, because CM Punk is now not here. Seth Rollins is in this shtick with Bronson Reed, so what other face do you have? Oh, that's right, we got Damian Priest. Oh, wait, we just did that match at SummerSlam. Oh, but let's just do it again, right? It's this vicious cycle, Brian, to where you see the same matches, right, and the same exact cycle week after week after week. And then for Bronson Reed and Seth, right, it's just like, okay, Bronson is obviously going to get his ultimate W, as it should have happened. But this is why, Brian, I was very conflicted about whether Bronson should have won at Crown Jewel, even though he was protected very well, which I spoke very highly about. But now you're going to have this second matchup to where maybe there's some type of stipulation. Okay, so what is going to be done that we haven't already seen? We've seen these dudes brawl constantly every single week, and now there's going to be more brawling and more chaos. We've already seen so much brawls and chaos with Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed, and this is what I mean, man, about this feud that still has a massive disconnect because you're trying to match the same exact intensity you did with Strowman, and you're doing it with Seth Rollins. It's just, it doesn't add up, and it just devalues it, if that makes any sense. So I don't know, man. I just don't need to see Damian Priest and Gunther in another matchup. I really don't, especially to where it's screaming, we don't have anybody else. We don't have anyone else. We haven't booked anyone else properly. We're going to throw Damian Priest in this situation. And who knows, does Finn Balor cost Damian Priest to where maybe you rectified their feud? And again, they haven't really teased or done anything with that at all since since Bad Blood. So I don't know how you can just jump straight back into that and expect people to just care, especially for how simplistic Finn Balor lost. Man, everything it's just all over the place, but that's all I got. Brian, What are your thoughts, man, in regards to this main event?
Yeah, I wasn't impressed, man. I mean, Seth Rollins, like, god damn it, like, and you know what? I can't even necessarily blame Seth or WWE. It's the fucking audience, man. It's us. Like when he came back, it was kind of. I felt it was kind of obvious, like he was trying to get away from the crazy outfits, the revolutionary. It seemed like they were trying to get away from that. He's right. That's what he is. That's what I mean. He's back with the fucking outfits, and you go out there, and even like the first couple of times, like I don't think he was going for the chant of the crowd, but they just insist on fucking doing it. So here we are. So yeah, I don't really care.
No, me neither.
And the whole Damian Gunther thing, man, I'm telling you, like, how do you feel? Like, I feel like at Crown, I can't remember if anything happened prior to Crown Jewel, but just Crown Jewel and then this Monday Night Raw afterwards in the promo, there is a softness, so to speak, creeping in with Gunter to where I think Priest might win this match and become champ again. I'm not quite. I don't know how it'll go, but it's odd. Gunter's been this character, this for years, and just in this last week or two, it's kind of like, So I don't know, man. But yeah, I wasn't really impressed with the main event.
No, same here, bro. And this is what I mean, man. It's just like, it's lazy. It's a way to fill up your show because you don't have to put much creative thought and effort into it. That's why they do these things. And that's what I keep screaming for, man. It's like, build number one contenders the right way, right? Build them up the right way to where it makes sense because they have all this build, they have all this momentum. So let's say if they start up a storyline by attacking the said champion or however you want to do it, it makes sense. And you just jump straight into the story. But now it's just, listen, does number one contender matches, do they have a place? Yes. But now when you do it all the time, Brian, it's no longer creative. It's redundant. It's called redundancy. And that's the problem with WWE. And to answer your question about Gunther, and we'll wrap things up and we'll get into NXT and AEW, I still feel like Gunther will still remain as champion. I don't see Damian Priest winning back this championship at all. That's just me as of right now. Maybe who knows? Maybe that changes. I see Gunther walking into WrestleMania as your champion in WrestleMania 41, probably against John Cena. That's just who I feel like is going to be the matchup, to where you're going to tease probably Cena getting his 70th championship. He potentially can do that. And shout out to Carlo, the average sports guy. I actually am going to be collaborating with him as of tomorrow, and we're going to be talking all about that. So make sure you guys stay tuned for it. I'll be on social media posting all about that. So yeah, that's where I feel like it's going with Gunther because he just won this title at SummerSlam. So to just flip flop the title within several months and then give it back to Priest, I don't know. That would be weird. Yeah. So, as well as for and again, this storyline too, right? It's just this is it again with doing this number one contenders match. Like that's the story. Like, oh, I got my opportunity by beating all these people. Now I get to face the champion. When even at SummerSlam, right, there was at least some legs to stand on. Like Gunther was calling Priest street trash, right, and talking about his upbringings, and here I am, Gunther, right? I lived a wonderful lifestyle. My family raised me the right way. That had some legs to stand on. So, and now you're doing this matchup just because of this number one contenders match. So now it's just you're devaluing this matchup for what you already did. This is what I mean, man. Like you just did this match. If you're gonna do this in the future, wait a couple more months. Like we just did this. So it's a weird decision, but the unfortunate thing is, Brian, is that there's not a whole lot of options. That's just the thing. That's the unfortunate thing about Monday Night Raw and all the baby faces, right? You have Dragunov, who's on the shelf, who can't be booked at all. He wasn't even being booked properly before the fucking injury, right? You got Braun Breaker, who's a face. Braun Breaker's not even on the fucking show. He's the Intercontinental Champion. He's doing nothing This again, man, the booking of, but don't worry, we're gonna keep hearing from fans that he's cooking. Triple H is just fucking cooking, man. He's cooking up filet mignon, freaking, fettuccine Alfredo, right? We're eating good, right, as wrestling fans. Like, the fuck are we talking about?
Let me one more comment about that too. If you go back and watch that Gunther promo when he starts, I think he must have, like, I don't know, Ludwig was starting to go in on Cody or something. That's what I mean with, like, the getting soft. And, like, Gunther was like, no, like, Cody's and then, but watch Ludwig's reaction to that.
Right.
Like, there might be, maybe not now, but I think there's something coming with them too.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely. I think so too. It's just with Gunther's character, man, it's so baffling. And I've said this, all this guy does to where he has shaken almost every single top babyface's hand. He did it with Orton, and he just did it with Cody Rhodes. Like, but James, but that's his character. He respects the good fight. Okay, cool. But, like, you still have to tap into that diabolical heel persona. That's where just
here's
Gunther...
the only time he should have ever done that, which still fit his character and didn't lose anything, is when he lost the IC title.
Yeah, I would have taken that. That's fine. That's fine. But to now do this with Orton, now what you're going to do it with what? With every single babyface opponent that has a respectful, good fight against him? Like, that doesn't make sense. He still needs to be the diabolical heel. And you're going to do what? You're going to turn him face now?
Yeah, I don't know. Please do not, like, I mean, sure, maybe in the future, but right now, no. Gunther does not need to be a face.
Can you imagine if the Iron Sheik shook hands with Hulk Hogan, Brian, back in the day? Seriously, like, or Sergeant Slaughter, right, when he was a diabolical, like, come on, guys, like, are we fucking serious? Listen, there's times to where it calls for it, and there's times to where it doesn't. You got to keep building up the character, and this is the problem too with pro wrestling as a whole. We keep exposing the business to where we're seeing slight changes in character when they don't need to be, right? Especially when you're on television, right? And I've said this about Liv Morgan too, and I'll make this quick and short. And Liv Morgan's been tremendous, right? In this character, she has been, even though it hasn't been all chocolate chip cookies and rainbows, it hasn't been perfect with this feud with Rhea, but she's done really well tapping into this heel persona. But the problem I had with that heel versus heel matchup, now you have her, on camera in the media scrum to where, yes, she's very emotional, as I'm sure she does personally. That's great. But why not put somebody like that when they're in the face role, to where now you have to go back and be the dastardly heel on television the next day? Right. That doesn't add up. You know what I mean? It's that booking in of itself that's not helping the mystique of the character. And things like what Gunther does, constantly just shaking hands and mutual respect, and then all of a sudden he's going to, like, call you whatever name and he's going to insult your family the next day. Yeah. Like, are you a diabolical heel? Do you like me? Do you not like me? Like, what is your character? What is Gunther? What are you, a heel? Are you not? Same goes with Braun Breaker. You pander to the crowd every week saying, where are the dogs at? But yet you want the crowd to bark. That's called pandering to the crowd. But yet you're supposed to be this diabolical heel.
Right.
But I don't know what I'm talking about. Some people just say, James, shut the fuck up. Just let Triple H cook. Just let him do this. Okay. All right, cool. And then I'm just going to keep because guys, if we keep doing this mutual respect, flipping of characters, pro wrestling is not going anywhere. It's not going to last long. I'm telling you, it's just not.
So again, and I'm sorry to bring up Kevin Nash's name again, right? But, like, to the point of where, he said, like, this is where wrestling died or whatever. In my opinion, like, the worst point in wrestling was that collapse after WCW, because you, Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, you were so concerned with being the cool heels that a face couldn't be a face. It did. So you had no fucking storyline business-wise to create. And you saw what the end product was. Like, that's where you all fucked up, man. Like, yeah, you can have your cool heel, or, like an LA Knight, if he was a heel, that could work.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're
Absolutely.
trying to make all your heels kind of like also have their catchphrases and their, you know, pandering to the crowd, then
Yeah, it doesn't
yeah,
it doesn't it doesn't add up. Like it's so weird. Like once you pander to the crowd, you're a face. Like, when you're pandering for the crowd to cheer for you or to do your catchphrase, like you're a face, bro. You're not a
yeah,
heel.
right,
It's one thing to interact with the crowd as a heel. That's one thing, right? But when
sure,
you're trying to pander to them, that's a completely different story. So that's the problem, not just with WWE. It's a problem with
oh yeah,
wrestling as a whole,
sure,
bro.
sure,
It's got to stop, man. It's really got to stop. If there's no legs to stand on with kayfabe and making these characters believable, guys, I'm telling you, pro wrestling is not going to last very long. It's just not. People are not going to care. People are not going to be as connected with these wrestlers. They're going to like and respect these wrestlers, right, for their wrestling ability, but there's no connection with the actual character to
yeah,
where, we talk about like Liv Morgan's laugh. She does that obnoxious laugh. Or even when Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, she did like her hysterical laugh. People like, oh, that's so annoying. That's so stupid. Okay, well, that's her job. Her job is to annoy
yes,
you with your fucking
right.
laugh. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's little things like that again, wrestling fans today, they don't understand. Like, they're trying to do their job to make you hate them. That is their fucking job. Their job is not to make you like them, guys. Like, oh my
Right.
God. So anyway, again, I can go on for hours, but that was Monday Night Raw. Again, a tape show, man, to where on paper I would have kind of just been okay with skipping, honestly, pretty much. And again, you would think like a tape show, you would want to make it like as good as on paper as it would be, and it's just, I don't know, as the
Yeah.
ratings also was the same as last week. They went up, 4,000 from last week. So, of course, after Crown Jewel. So maybe there was slight interest. I wouldn't be shocked that that was mainly from like the Sami Zayn Bloodline segment. That was the highest rated segment. If we're talking quarterly hours from the
Sure.
show, that wouldn't shock me at all. But that was Monday Night Raw. And we'll see if hopefully SmackDown, to where SmackDown has been pretty decent over the last several weeks. Definitely better than Raw over the last several weeks. So we'll see maybe if they can keep things into high gear with their Fallout show from Crown Jewel. All right, let's get into NXT. Now, I will briefly go over NXT. So they were in the 2300 arena. They were in the ECW, the original ECW arena in this show. Of course, they were on Wednesday night head-to-head with AEW, and we'll get into AEW. So the start of the show, man, is I'll just kind of simulate through the show. You had Jada Parker and you had Lola Vice. They were in a hardcore match where Dawn Marie was the special guest referee of this matchup. This matchup was, I'm not going to lie, as much as I like Jada Parker and as well as I like Lola Vice too, but I've been very high on Jada Parker. The match was very fun, right? But it was definitely convoluted to where a lot of these spots, to where especially there was a brick shot to where you had Jada Parker pick up this brick to where I believe it was in like a trash can, because there was trash can lids, there were kendo sticks. There was some fun, entertaining spots, and these ladies did their thing. But Jada Parker, she takes a brick, she smashes it over the head with Lola Vice with it, ends up pinning Lola Vice, and Lola Vice kicks out. And I'm thinking, if you're hitting somebody with a said brick, if we're talking like making things feel really organic and natural, I don't know. And maybe if you,
Like,
because
bro,
then,
like, seriously, like, if this is a real life situation, and I know it's not, but like in a real life situation, if I hit somebody in the face with a brick and that doesn't put them down, I'm fucking out of there, dude. Like,
right. And I think the disconnect, because Jada Parker went straight for the cover, because then afterwards she hits her hip attack finisher, and then that was able to put away Lola Vice. So maybe if you were to not do the pinfall attempt, then
yeah,
maybe that would have maybe saved that type of spot. But either way, it was definitely very convoluted at times. Sometimes when WWE does hardcore matches, it definitely gets sometimes very silly to a
yeah.
degree. So this match was still fun. Both of these ladies did their thing. Lola Vice, she's a mixed martial artist, so she's doing her roundhouse kicks, while Jada Parker has a steel trash can on her head, right? Jada Parker's doing her hip attack moves. Like, it was actually a very fun match. Was this a great match? No. I really wish too they would have gone outside of the ring more, right? Go into the crowd a little bit, maybe get away from the ringside area, because they didn't really leave the ring or ringside at all. but also showcase Dawn Marie a little bit. Maybe do some interactions with Dawn Marie and Jada Parker. That would have been really cool, especially if you're trying to pander to a Philadelphia crowd with ECW. And I don't know if that has anything to do with people don't know much about Dawn Marie at all. Maybe plays a part of it to where maybe she does something and it's not going to get the reaction that WWE nor she wants to. So I don't know if that plays a part into it. But Jada Parker ends up winning this match. This was the right call. Jada Parker is great. I'm going to say that to the high heavens. I'm very skeptical whenever she does get to the main roster because of how all the women are being booked on the main roster right now. But she's doing her thing in NXT, man. She's got all the tools. She checks off every box. And no shade to Lola Vice. She's a tremendous talent. But Jada Parker, I'm sorry, is just head over heels above her. And this was the right call being made. So overall, decent start to the show. Javon Evans in a match with Wes Lee. This was a nice, decent matchup. If you like high-flying action, non-stop action, this was the match for you. There was an interaction with Wes Lee and RVD backstage. So that led to RVD coming out, creating distraction from Wes Lee as there was some interaction there. Javon Evans ends up taking advantage and picking up the W. Now, shout out to DJ Springs, right? Much love to him. He was a part of the show. He is a good friend of Javon Evans, working in the same training facility together. And clearly, of course, Javon Evans, he's still a young kid. I think he's only like 20 or 21 years old. Mm-hmm. If there's any advice I would give to this kid, man, is like he needs to slow things down. He's trying to do many things at 1,000 miles per hour. There's not a whole lot of selling. You're just right back to the next spot. He needs to slow things down just a little bit. He tried to do a frog splash from one side of the ring to the other, and it was very ugly. So that's the thing about Javon Evans. It's just like, he's got all the tools. He's going to learn from it. Hopefully, he learns from these types of mistakes and gets better from it, as I'm sure he will.
Sure.
But it's little things like that. So where it's not all about, man, the nonstop action, still do your strengths, play to your strengths, and do what you are best at, which is your ability, your in-ring ability, but also know when to tone things down. And I still think that Javon Evans still needs to find that in his arsenal. But I think over time he will do that. This was a decent match. I'm not going to say it was great. It was a decent match. It was okay. Again, RVD bringing the nostalgia within the ECW. He didn't really do much. He just created a slight distraction, and that was pretty much it. Rhino made an appearance. He hit a gore onto, I'm forgetting the dude's freaking name. He's a manager on NXT. He managed freaking one of the talents that's no longer there. Again, that's neither here or there. I'm forgetting his name. My apologies, but he ended up making an appearance. I think it was Ava Rain made an announcement about NXT Deadline coming up in Minnesota or whatever, but that was pretty much it. Rhino got a pop from the crowd, the Philly crowd, hitting the gore spot, and that was pretty much it there. We move on to this tag match with Bubba Ray Dudley, Trick, Ridge Holland, and Ethan Page. I'm not going to lie, man. Listen, I know people like Bubba Ray Dudley. I'll always respect Bubba Ray Dudley as a performer, maybe not as, as a podcaster, because sometimes he says the most oddest shit on Busted Open sometimes.
Yeah.
But as always, as a performer, as part of one of the greatest tag teams to ever live, I'll always have that respect for him. This match did nothing for me, man. It just was a tag match, and it led to Trick Williams, your champion, getting rolled up by Ridge Holland. I don't like the finish at all, man. It just doesn't make Trick look good. And then afterwards, you try to salvage that to where, Devon Dudley came out with the table, right? They did the table spot with Ridge Holland. I think actually, no, they did it with Ethan Page. So they did that whole what up on the top rope and everything. So, and that was, again, the match. Everything else was cool. Again, if you're a big ECW fan, if you love the nostalgia of ECW, this was your show. But the booking of Trick Williams getting rolled up, I just did not like. I just did not like it all. I just don't like when champions are getting rolled up and pinned like that. I just did not like it. And when Ridge, and again, I liked how Ridge has been being built up to this point. But and we're going to get to the women, right? That's on one scenario. But it tells you a lot, the state of the men's NXT roster, to when Ridge Holland is in the NXT title picture. I don't know. Again, that's no shade to Ridge Holland. He's doing his thing. But outside of maybe Trick, Ethan Page, and Ridge, there's not a whole lot of legs to stand on. Maybe Obafemi, if Obafemi, who just lost the North American Championship to Tony D'Angelo, Tony D, maybe he now gets a crack at the World Championship now. But there's not many legs to stand on with this NXT men's division. There's just, at least with interest and fan interest, there's just really not. We then go into Tony D had a match with a fellow former family member, as this was part of, I guess, the I don't know. I don't even know what you fucking call this. This was a North American title match. I don't really remember what this dude's name was. He looks like the local pizza delivery guy, Luigi Lugnuts across the street. That's what he looked like going up against Tony D'Angelo. So I don't know, man.
Tony
It was
Lugnuts over here.
Right. Freaking shout out to my fellow Italians. Anyway, moving on. And then we get to this 10-woman tag. You have Jordan Grace, Kalani Jordan, Julia, Stephanie Vacuor, Zarya versus Roxanne Perez, your champion, Cora Jade, and Fatal Influence, which is JC Jane, Fallon Henley, and Jasmine Nix. I'm going to tell you one thing, man. Obviously, the matchup was the match, right? Everybody in a short amount of time, they got to get their spots in. They got to do their thing. And, of course, all the faces win this match. I forget what they called themselves, this big team. I guess like the event, some type of superhero type of name. I mean, like all of these ladies, like Jordan Grace, Julia, Stephanie Vacuor. I mean, the visual of it, I mean, my fucking God. It's a sight to see. And it's clear as day, Brian, that the strength right now in NXT is this women's division. And it's not even close. They're not even trying to hide it either. The strength in NXT has been the women's division with all of these said talents. And Jordan Grace, man, like you can't help but think if she ever does get to WWE's main roster, the shit that this woman can freaking do, as well as with Zarya. Zarya, who is now a new said talent that just debuted not too long ago, Halloween Havoc, pinned Roxanne Perez. So I don't know if this is leading to, because Stephanie Vacuor just pinned Roxanne Perez. Here is Zarya pinning Roxanne Perez. So I guess you're just going to throw in, maybe add in a Julia and have a fatal four-way match and maybe at NXT Deadline, or maybe do a Deadline type of certain matchup and that whole spiel, that certain type of gimmick. I don't know. Again, I didn't mind the tag match finish, Brian, but now here's Roxanne Perez getting pinned again. And again, it's believable. It's Zarya. Like, if you look at Zarya and all these women, like, it's very believable to be pinning Roxanne Perez, but she is the champion and you still want to protect her to a certain degree. So I question that type of decision. And then the show goes off the air. The faces win the matchup. The heels retreat up the rampway. And that was your show. Fatal Influence and the rest of these heels. Fatal Influence. Let me get into these just real quick, and then we'll get into AEW. So Fallon Henley, right? This might be a hot take to a lot of people with Fallon Henley, right? She's a good talent. From what I've seen, she's gotten, I guess, slightly better. Guys, Fallon Henley is a knockoff version of Mickie James. She just is. If you've seen Mickie James's like hardcore country gimmick, that's pretty much Fallon Henley's shtick. It just is, man. I'm sorry. Like when I look at Fallon Henley, I just think of Mickie James and her hardcore country gimmick. Like if that was the case, man, imagine if you were to put Mickie James in that certain role, to have her name in this said role, and it would just do that much more in effect. As well as for JC Jane, like she's the one that's kind of been putting this group together. And now to just be that sidekick role, the same role that she was in Toxic Attraction, is just very odd booking on JC Jane's part. I've even said that in the Facebook group and all over social media too. So that part is baffling. But the women's division is really, really hot right now with all of this talent. The men's division, there's a disconnect. There's a massive booking problem. The show overall, again, if you love ECW, the visual of like the entrance, the Titantron, the visuals of the camera was all great. That was all great nostalgia. It brings you back to, days of ECW. I think MLW does the same thing, as they've been doing shows in that same arena. So if you like ECW, they had, of course, like RVD, Rhino, Bubba Dudley, no Tommy Dreamer or Sandman, unfortunately, but, they brought in some ECW nostalgia with Dawn Marie and others. So if you like ECW, you love this show. If you didn't know much about ECW, then you were very indifferent about this show. So does AEW punch back? Right? Because there was a lot of energy. The crowd was into it in Philadelphia with NXT. Can AEW now bring in that same type of energy and atmosphere? They start off the show with Hurt Syndicate, right? The debut of Hurt Syndicate. They all come out. They make their presence felt. Swerve Strickland comes out and issues a challenge to Bobby Lashley. MVP accepts on Bobby Lashley's behalf. And that was the opening segment to Dynamite. So, Brian, I know you watched more of AEW Dynamite than you did of NXT. So, at least from your thoughts from Hurt Syndicate, because we're going to get into a lot of AEW here, but from the start of AEW, man, your thoughts about this opening start to Hurt Syndicate and matchup between Swerve and Bobby Lashley for Full Gear.
Man, I really like the opening, man. The only I wish Swerve would have had a little bit more to say or whatever, because I mean Swerve's part was really short and sweet and to the point, which is fine. But MVP and Lashley and Benjamin in the ring together, more than anything, I was really taken aback of how the reaction they got when they came out. I don't know that any of those three individually, or even when they were Hurt Business in WWE, ever got a reaction like that, or presented like that. And so for that, I'm just thankful, and I hope this continues, because all three of those guys, and in a feud with Swerve, I've said it time and time again, this could be really, really good. So yeah, I was happy with the opening segment. I wish there was a little bit more with Swerve, but we got the match at Full Gear with Lashley and Swerve. So, we'll see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the visual looks great. I mean, with them in their suits, their 5-piece suits and everything. Ricochet was backstage again with Hurt Syndicate. I'm telling you guys, man, Ricochet, a part of this group, man, just makes so much sense, because as a solo competitor, guys, like, what is Ricochet going to do? Is he just going to have banger matches with Hologram and fucking AR Fox and frickin' Kyle Fletcher, right? Like, and he's doing this shtick, Brian. I don't know how you feel about this, but he does this shtick to where I am out of this world. It's the cringiest shit ever. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I mean, his mic skill. Let me be fair. The promo skills overall haven't been bad. It's actually been okay. I will give Ricochet that. A lot of people just want to bash Ricochet just to bash him now. Which again,
I think with Ricochet, like him being in AEW and what he can do with going to other, that's really the best place for him
scenario. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, a lot of people are just shitting on the dude. That's now the new favorite thing to do, is just to hate on Ricochet. Again, I'm not going to be one of those people. I have my critiques about Ricochet, but just to hate on the dude, on the dude, man, it's just like, it's kind of just, it's loser shit. Let's just say that.
For sure.
But the reality is, though, man, is that Ricochet still needs to find his footing, because if you're going to keep doing the same thing that he was doing in WWE, to where, let's be honest, it wasn't going anywhere, right? No. You can only do so much with Ricochet. That, let's be honest, who is not, again, hasn't been bad on the microphone, but he hasn't been good. He's been decent. He's held his own. He's been hitting the bullet points. The whole out of this world thing like that, I'm sorry, that's just flat out
That's weird.
I'm sorry. It's fucking weird. But man, if you put him in this Hurt Syndicate, because they're teasing it, right? They're teasing it, man. And I can see it, Brian, to where he's being in the same role to where Cedric Alexander was with this Hurt Business group back in WWE. And obviously Cedric is still in WWE. So obviously Cedric is off the table, but why not add a high flyer in Ricochet? And that could help Ricochet's, and he can learn a thing or two from being a part of this faction and understanding what it means to be having a certain personality and persona and aura of a character, to where this could benefit Ricochet and and his reputation moving forward is being a part of this group, because Ricochet for the longest time, Brian, has really missed something. And I think being a part of this group would truly help him. And it just makes sense for him to do that. But we'll see. But we shall see in regards.
Question real quick, because this is the part that I missed, and I don't know if you saw it or whatever. But so, the whole promo with MVP was like, I got my eye on people, and we'll give you this business card, and
yeah,
if you accept it, hey, you're all good. If not, we're gonna beat your ass. So I know Ricochet, they had the backstage segment, and then and Ricochet was having a match. So, and that's what I meant. Did anything happen there? Because I'm expecting. Well, I like your idea. I thought they were, because they've already offered it to him.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to beat him down. But I guess maybe that didn't happen.
I guess they're still trying to persuade Ricochet. Yeah, nothing really happened. They're like, hey, like, it's like complimenting Ricochet's suit from backstage because he's also wearing the suit, so they're complimenting that. They're like, hey, like, just keep it in mind. So they're like trying to drag it out a little bit before maybe Ricochet makes a decision. So it's going to be like one of those types of deals to where maybe Ricochet makes a decision. And now he's got his hands full with the Don Callis family, as we'll get into it later on in the night.
He's but yeah, man, backup, right?
you would think, yeah. I mean, who knows? But for Ricochet's sake, man, it just makes sense, right? Even with Cedric Alexander, as much as we like him and he's a great in-ring talent, before Hurt Business, the dude was not going anywhere. He was only going to get by so far. Ricochet and what he's doing as a solo competitor is only going to get so far with people. But if you put him in with this faction, that fits, right? You got Bobby Lashley, the muscle. You have Shelton, who's the vet. You have MVP, who is, the captain of the ship, right? And now you add Ricochet, who's like the high flyer, like, from pillar to post type of dude. It just fits, man. It fit, and he's already wearing the suit, right? I mean, it looks, he fits the part. It just makes sense, man. It really does. Yeah. So who knows what they do in regards to it. But up next, this was a tag match. So I believe this was Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin against Claudio and Pac. So Darby Allin, so they're rushing up the rampway, both Claudio and Pac, to go after Orange Cassidy. Darby Allin just dive bombs off the fucking stage, and then all of a sudden the brawl ensues before the matchup starts. This matchup ends in a no contest as Mox and Marina Shafir get involved. I believe it was just Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta, excuse me. It wasn't even Mox, it was Wheeler Yuta. Well,
Mox came out there afterwards, but yeah.
Mox Steely did came out there, but I think the initial no contest, that was from Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir, yes.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right, Mox was out there. So it ended in no contest. And then you had Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, and Ishii all came out. And then the heels, of course, retreat through the crowd, and that set up a 6-man tag, which I'm going to be honest, guys, I'm not even going to get into because I just don't give a shit. I just didn't give a shit about the 6-man tag afterwards. I didn't. I appreciate what they tried to do to make it fun, but there was no interest for me at all. So I mean, you got this BCC gimmick to where, man, I just hope that they continue to be a focal point. And I'll kind of make this message once this show is all said and done. But you got Hurt Syndicate, you got now the BCC, which I believe they go by a different name now. I'm forgetting the name of it. But make these guys the focal point of the show and prolong it through the show. That should be your bread and butter as of right now. That is what's going to get the most eyeballs. That's what's gaining most interest. Showcase that, make that your bread and butter moving forward. Brian, any thoughts at all with this tag match before we move on in the show?
I got a lot of thoughts about this one, man. So it kind of ties back into what we were saying about AEW and just like guys, getting rolled up and just weird shit. Like, you have this faction with Moxley and Claudio and Wheeler Yuta and Pac. And all of them. Well, I guess Yuta might be getting there, but Moxley, Claudio, and Pac, who are vicious, like beat your ass kind of dudes, right?
Yep.
And you're having them go up against Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. And here's the kicker: is like right after that, right? You had what do they call themselves? The conglomerate, right? With
conglomeration,
conglomeration. But I mean, stupid name. But if you took those three guys, or even the fucking learning tree with those three guys, either one of those two factions going up against Moxley and those guys makes far more sense and is far more intriguing to me than Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy. Like, this shit does not. It's just you're putting every individual in where like there's two outcomes to this story. Either you got to start booking, I mean, Darby's already is kind of, but Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin to sort of possess this superhuman strength that they just won't die. Or you have to now book, Moxley and Claudio and Pac kind of like little bitches because they're losing to a guy who's gonna fucking put his hands in his pockets. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
And that's again, Orange Cassidy's got his place, Darby Allin's got his place. It's just this does not make sense when you have there's so many other available talents that can be in a believable, brutal feud,
Yeah.
And I know I've said this about Darby so many times, but holy shit, dude. I really like this. If we could ever interview him, like there was a point in the match where Claudio, press slams Darby into the ring post, right? Throws him into the ring post, completely defenseless to where, his body spins.
Uh-huh.
He cannot break. I mean, he lands kind of on his shoulder and his face, right? I just like, dude, like, are you just like, this is my art and I'm going to die for my art? Or do you have the mentality like you've done it, like it's just never going to catch up? Like, you're never going to get hurt. Like, what is it? Because eventually it's going to happen, dude. And I just don't know why, something like that. It like I've said it so many times, it's like, you can't practice that. You can't be safe for that. That is, you are launched into a ring pole to where your body flips and you got half a second to where you're falling on the floor. And I mean, he could have, broken his neck there, blown his shoulder out, anything, and there's just, for what? But whatever, man. But that's kind of my takeaway from that. Like, I mean, I love Mox and what they're doing and everything. It's just the whole Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy being their like main focal point is weird.
Yeah, because I mean, we said it all the time too about a gimmick like Orange Cassidy, right? It's just like you can only do so much with it, because it's like the hands in the pockets and all that stuff. Darby Allin, I mean, if you want to make him part of this shtick, fine. I mean, obviously with Orange Cassidy, I mean, he's going to be in a world title match with Jon Moxley, so they're going to continue to get him involved in this. The no contest, I'm honest. I mean, if you're having this matchup, I would have not done this type of matchup to begin with. I would have done with people like the conglomeration, I guess, with Kyle O'Reilly and a few others, to where like, it's Kyle O'Reilly. It's freaking Mark Briscoe. Just replace, Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin and put those people in this match, and you can have the same type of chaos as you did in this tag match.
Exactly.
But they went with the no contest, which I actually don't mind at all. I don't mind that type of decision because yes, you want to protect BCC in this faction. But at the same time, you also do need to protect Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin, because whether we like it or not, they are the focal point of being the faces of going after this said faction. So you have to protect everybody involved. So this was the best case scenario. Again, I just would not have done the matchup. I would have just done maybe Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly, and you could have done the same exact type of scenario to where the BCC could pick up a W. And yeah, you don't like to see Kyle O'Reilly and them take a loss, but like, what are they doing right now? That's right now benefiting the company, nor does anybody care. No offense, does anybody care about what a Mark Briscoe and a Kyle O'Reilly is doing right now? And much love to Mark Briscoe. I actually wish this dude would be more of an
Yes.
asset to the show. And you see him just filling around with all these other people, just being a part of a team. It's just, I was hoping that, of course, again, much love to Jay Briscoe, rest in peace to him. But when that all escalated, you would think like, all right, they're going to bring Mark Briscoe along. They're going to make him in this singles role. Maybe now we get to finally, kind of like what they're doing with Jey Uso in WWE. Now we get to see a taste of what Mark Briscoe is capable of. And they're just
Yeah.
having him fiddle around with all these just, let's face it, shout out to Lee Johnson, but jobbers. And I know Lee Johnson felt a certain different way when I mentioned jobbers, but local talents, let's just say, or just enhanced talents that just aren't doing anything in regards to storytelling or just quality television right now. So that's my take.
Like those three people, right? I mean, you got Briscoe, who's a fucking crazy man, right? O'Reilly, who's a damn good wrestler, and Ishii, is like the fucking powerhouse. Like that fits much more against the BCC than fucking. And you mentioned like, because yeah, you do have to protect Orange Cassidy and a Darby Allin, protect their
Yeah.
characters. But the only way you kind of do that over an extended period of time with a group like the BCC is by making them look weak or just silly, you
Yeah,
know?
no, absolutely, yeah. And the last thing that faction needs right now is any type of blunder or any type
Yeah.
of mishap. And because for being a faction that's still so new, they cannot be having any blunder to their booking. So hopefully they continue. They're still, again, a major asset to the
Yeah,
show, and they're
yeah.
still doing great things. But one little mishap can truly hurt things in regards to how believable they truly are. So we'll see in regards to it. And by
Yeah.
the way, shout out to Lee Johnson. I'm not calling Lee Johnson a jobber. If you
Shout out Lee.
if you saw our interview with Lee Johnson, you guys know what I'm talking about. We kind of go into that type of conversation. So I'm not calling Lee Johnson a jobber. That's just a mention that we talked about in the interview. But shout out to Lee Johnson if he's watching this. So all right, let's move on to Adam Cole, baby, in a matchup with Malachi Black, as Adam Cole ends up winning this match, defeating Malachi Black. And there's been a lot of rumors for some odd reason, like, oh, he's leaving AEW, he's retiring, which just came out of the blue. And then freaking Malachi just had to post an Instagram story saying, like, I'm not retiring, I'm not leaving. I don't know where people are getting this information from. So clearly just shutting all of those fucking rumors down, as that was just posted right before we started the show. So, man, it's just again, this story with MJF and Adam Cole, like, what else do I really need to say that hasn't already been said? As MJF, there was a segment he was involved in. He's trying to do business with the Don Callis family, because obviously Adam Cole has Undisputed Kingdom with Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. And then you now have MJF. He's going to need some reinforcements. So now he's doing some business type of relationship deal with Don Callis, as of course he's got big muscles in with Lance Archer and Brian Cage and that whole spiel. So clearly something's going to form there. So, I mean, good match. I mean, it's Adam Cole and it's Malachi Black. They tried to protect Malachi Black. I mean, they're doing this thing to where Adam Cole defeated Buddy Matthews last week, and now here he is defeating Malachi Black this week. He at least didn't lose as simplistically. Adam Cole kicked out of the that roundhouse kick. What is he called? Black Mass. He kicked out of the Black Mask finisher. That was so fucking weird. I mean, I've seen this dude lay out so many individuals with that finisher, but yet it's Adam Cole that just fucking just miraculously kicks out of it. I did not like that at all, man. I don't like that at all. To kind of just like make that finisher, not just booking the character properly, but exposing the finisher. Like, how devastating is it if Adam Cole, out of all people, is kicking out of the fucking finisher? It's a roundhouse kick that's kicking your fucking head off. Nobody in hell is waking up out after the count of 3 from that. I'm sorry, but you're not. So to have him kick out of that was a weird fucking decision. But at least he didn't lose simplistically. They try to make him like, Malachi's like begging for some more, like, come on, just do it. Deliver the last shot, like the back of the knee from Adam Cole, the running knee to the back of the head. And that was enough to put Malachi away. Brian, what are your takes, man, about this matchup, Adam Cole and Malachi Black, and this story with MJF?
I mean, I don't have any comments really. Nothing really positive. It's just disappointment, really. Disappointment with Malachi Black's booking, the House of Black as a whole, and with Adam Cole and everything that's going on with him, man. I mean, it's just right now. Yeah. I mean, I didn't care about the match, and great match. I like both people, but it's the whole thing is just disappointing as it stands right now, and that's
yeah. No, absolutely, for sure. So I don't know. I think Kyle O'Reilly was like watching backstage too. I don't know what that again. I don't know. I legit, guys, have no idea. Malachi Black, man, it's just like, obviously he's staying in AEW. He's mentioned that, it's just, man, for so long, dude. Like, I watched Brian his entrance, and we got to watch his entrance, I think this earlier on this year when he was in a tag match with FTR for Collision.
Yeah.
It's like I watched this dude's entrance, and I listened to his music, and it's like, bro, even like just the aura and just the presentation is so captivating.
Yep.
But yet what he's involved in and what he's doing and just the repetitive vicious cycle that he's on, like, that's where it just ends, unfortunately. Like, there's nothing, like, that's what sucks, man, to where there's so much that this dude can do, right? If you put him in the right scenario. I believe he was in some good stuff with Adam Copeland before he got injured.
Yeah.
He defeated Cody Rhodes when he first arrived to the scene AEW. They put him in this House of Black faction to where they've had their moments, but let's be honest, it hasn't really gotten off the ground. It really hasn't.
No,
it's
really.
been, again, another faction, another thing in pro wrestling that's been kind of just stopped and go. And Malachi's been in the thick of it, out of all of it. And just the inconsistency of it all, to where this dude should, again, be a major asset and should be doing a lot more in regards to interest of what he's doing than what he's doing right now. It just sucks, man.
It's
interesting,
really, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't remember. Maybe they did, and I just can't remember it. But like, the House of Black has never had any like big, maybe a match here and there, but never like a feud with the BCC, right? Or the Elite. Have they?
With the Elite, I don't believe so. At least not to my knowledge off the top of my head. I'd have to do research about that. Because the Elite has been, well, as of late, they've been the
whatever
heels.
Iteration of the, even you could go back a year or 2 years, whatever iteration. I'm just talking about, like, you have House of Black here, it's amazing concept, presentation. All the wrestlers are great, but you've never had them up in that Elite facing the BCC and Danielson and Moxley, or the Elite, the Bucks and Omega, and
Yeah, no, that's the thing too, because like, you're putting them in this situation to build up MJF and Adam Cole, which is also very weird. You had Buddy Matthews take the loss. You're having Malachi Black take the loss. So what is Brody King up next? Is Brody King just going to take a fucking loss? Like, what the fuck? I don't fucking understand. You're putting them in jobber matches, by the way, guys. Don't think for a second, guys, that I don't know about that. They've been in jobber matches on Collision as well as Rampage. You're doing all of that just to lose collectively to Adam Cole, to build up a story, that just can't be rectified. Like, I mean, I don't understand how it makes these people look good, bro. It's just like, what do they do? Right? You put them in a jobber match. Okay, cool. Right? You build them up to get some W's, and then they take this loss to Adam Cole. Where do you go from there, bro? It's just like, if there's a plan, okay, but if there's not, I don't get it, bro. It's Malachi Black should just be on his fucking own. The dude by himself can just do massive things on his own. He doesn't even need to be around these fucking people. That's no shade to Brody King or Buddy Matthews. That's just truth, man. It's a faction that's doing nothing for Malachi Black, and it's doing nothing for the people around him. It is what it is. Maybe, I guess they're trying to hold out until Julia Hart comes back from injury. So now everybody's now in full force, and then finally they're going to find something. I don't know. Time will tell, I guess, with that.
Yeah.
Hangman Page. Let me get to this before we get to the main event of the show. So I am so lost with Hangman Adam Page's character. I don't understand it at all. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, right? So the house burning segment, great story, great everything. It comes back full circle with what Swerve did to him. Totally fine with it. He was technically the face, correct? Like he's getting his revenge on Swerve for what he did to him. Swerve had to come back into this heel role. Now Swerve is going to be the face against Hurt Syndicate. And now here's Hangman Adam Page now in a heel role against Jay White. Guys, I don't understand the switching of heel and face within pro wrestling, within this fucking company. It's not helping the characters. It's not helping the consistency of what these people are doing. You portray Adam Page as a face, right? Or anti-hero, but he's not a heel against freaking Swerve. Right. Swerve is the one doing all these dastardly, right? And now here's Hangman Adam Page in the snap of a finger, and he's a fucking heel. Somebody tell me how this makes sense. Like, obviously, Jay White, okay, he's been a face. Like, they've been a face for a while. But still, like, you just had him as a face. Now you have him as a heel. Are you going to have him back as a face when maybe the Elite come back and Kenny Omega come back? Like, this is what I mean, man, about consistency. Nothing's consistent. It's stop and go. It's flip-flop. You're a face now. Now you're going to be a heel the next feud. You'll be a face the next feud. It's so fucking confusing, and nobody can connect. Nobody can dive into it because of it. It's just odd. What are your thoughts about that, Brian, if any, about it?
You know, there's a movie, and I've come to just personally refer to Hangman as Tony Khan's cocaine cowboy. Because you're right. Like if you've ever experienced or witnessed somebody on cocaine, it's like the behavior is so erratic at times, and like doesn't make sense. And you're over here and you're over there, and nothing makes sense. And that's what Hangman Adam Page is. He's the cocaine cowboy. I don't know. I
don't understand, bro. It's like, it's just because this is the thing, bro, about storytelling and about pro wrestling, right? You know, people want to defend this type of booking to where it's like, oh, it's just like, you know, it doesn't have to be about faces and heels, right? That's like old news. Like that doesn't have to be like, the fuck are you talking about, bro? It's a staple in pro wrestling. That's a foundation.
It's a staple in
movies and entertainment. Yes, exactly. If you don't,
TV shows,
if you don't have that, it's a foundation, right? If you don't have that, then what the fuck do you have? Right? It's no, absolutely. I'm glad you said that, Brian. It's not even just pro wrestling. It's movies, TV shows, everything, bro.
There is a good-hearted person, a bad-hearted. That is storytelling 101. There's
right. And now
something to invest in to make you feel good and root for, and something that you're rooting against.
Yes, thank you, bro. But now we're in a day and age, Brian, to where nobody's consistently a heel, hardly anybody's consistently a face, and we're just flip-flopping everybody week by week. It's just so fucking weird. I don't understand how you can do this type of stuff and expect people to stick around and say, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to why he miraculously is now just a face. Oh, that makes sense to why he's miraculously just became a heel. The fuck? I don't understand. I really don't get it. Anyway, I can go on for hours with that too.
Yeah.
It's
so funny that I don't know what it is within people that like, it's one of those things where like, it doesn't matter how many times like something smacks them in the face, they just can't connect the dots on like,
right.
Yes, pro wrestling, scripted,
it's right,
fake, whatever.
Thanks.
WWE or movies, TV shows, everything you watch for entertainment purposes. It is a varying degrees, but good and bad, protagonist, antagonist, face and heel. That's what it is.
Exactly, bro. You hit the nail on the fucking head, man. I don't have to say anything else, bro. You nailed it. All right, man. This tag match to end the night. So you got Ricochet, who has a mystery tag partner going up against Takeshita. Just kidding. Let me rephrase that. I give him a hard time with his name. Again, blame MJF, not me. Takeshita versus Kyle Fletcher. The mystery partner was Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs, as apparently he never signed an extension with the Don Callis family. They let him roam to be a free agent. And they kind of like played the part to like, oh, like I never got a text or an email or a call. He said that like in a exclusive social media type of interview after the show was over. So Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs, was the mystery opponent. I'm not going to lie. I just thought it was just going to be Will Ospreay at first. I'm like, is that really, truly a mystery? Really? Yeah. Do I think that this match should have been the main event? Absolutely not. I'm sorry. Just absolutely not. I like Will Hobbs. Will Hobbs is, there's a lot of potential with his stature. Even him to a degree. I wouldn't mind him in Hurt Syndicate, bro. Like, why not? Put him in Hurt Syndicate.
Ricochet, could go to the Hurt Syndicate or whatever. Like, I'd almost rather him go the other way, like swerve Ricochet and Hobbs.
I would be fine with that too. Absolutely. So they do this matchup, and of course, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricochet win the matchup. Ricochet, I believe, pins. Was it Fletcher? No, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Fletcher. I'm pretty sure it was Fletcher. Again, I have to go back in my notes just to check that. I'll confirm that later. And then chaos ensues, right? Chaos ensues and everything. You got the Don Callis family. You got Brian Cage and Lance Archer out there. Adam Cole comes out and brawling with Takeshita because he's got a matchup with him next week. That was very just abrupt. Brawling ensues and everything. Will Ospreay comes out to the aid for Ricochet as one other person. I'm forgetting his name. I believe he was part of a tag team with Kyle Fletcher. I'm forgetting his name, but he was also out there. I thought he was
when he was Aussie Open. That dude,
Aussie Open. Yes, that is correct. Yes, I'm forgetting his name again. My apologies to everybody listening. But he went out there first to help out Ricochet, and there was a confrontation with him and Kyle Fletcher. Like, shoved him across the ring, and then that's when Brian Cage and Lance Archer came in to put a whooping on both Ricochet and as well as himself. And then that's when Will Ospreay came out. Now the numbers are somewhat even. The heels retreat. All the faces stand up at the ring. And that was your show. So nonstop chaos for the sake of having chaos is what ended this show pretty much. So, yeah, man. I mean.
And to me, like, you can make your argument about anyone, any of those people coming out there. But, again, the weirdest one to me is Adam fucking Cole.
I didn't understand.
I get it,
Adam Cole,
Takeshita, but this is not like, what the fuck.
I don't understand. Yeah, and again, I don't know. And again, and maybe they're trying to do that because eventually MJF is going to be doing business with all of these other people like Takeshita. So I guess, but still, it would just like Adam Cole doesn't need to be going out there anyway. He hasn't been in. There's no reason for him to go after them. He's fixated on MJF. There hasn't been a business relationship going far in depth to Adam Cole for him to attack him. So that just doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
It was just so fucking random. Oh, they're having a matchup next week, James, and MJF is doing this. Okay. Adam Cole hasn't had a reason for them to go after. They haven't attacked him yet. There's not a reason for Adam Cole to go after him. It's just so weird.
It was weird.
It was just very weird and just, I guess, very abrupt, I guess, for the better. So yeah, just listen, I like Will Ospreay. He's, again, a dude that, again, man, is really good. And the more I watch this dude, the more I definitely see a lot in being legit, not just the top star, because that's what WWE or AEW is placing him in, but legit, like a bona fide star within the States and everything. He can be that dude. It's clear as day. But to you to just say, oh, it's Will Ospreay, he's the top, star, and that's why we should end the show this way. That's bullshit, man. There's no reason for this to end the show at all. Just chaos, just for the sake of chaos, man. And I'll end it with this, and this will kind of be it. The bread and butter should be Mox and his stable, and it should be the Hurt Syndicate. That is your bread and butter as of right now. Have them do their separate things, not cross paths, obviously. You wait to do that. But those two doing their individual things on their own should be the bread and butter. Prolong that. Showcase them backstage. Showcase them whooping ass in the locker room, doing some shit in the parking lot. Like, do that, man. Like, I love the start of the show a couple weeks ago where everybody was out in the parking lot. I guess the local town, like the Mark Briscoes and the Kyle O'Reillys, right? They're all waiting for the BCC. I like that. And you prolong that. That's a good start to the show. Keep doing stuff similar to that, and I hope they tap into it. That needs to be the bread and butter of this show moving forward. And then everything else just needs to just be consistent and slowly gain interest. So that's it. And then I forgot also Mercedes was a part of a segment as she's going to be having a matchup with Chris Statlander. She tried to run over Chris Statlander with her car. I think it was Camille that was behind the wheel.
Right.
And Mercedes like, oh, you can't do nothing right. I got to do this myself. And Chris Statlander still lays both of them out. So like, guys, to end this again, I know I'm all over the place. You are teasing a Mercedes and Camille tandem. Like, you just formed these two. And now you're going to have Camille go on her own? What has she done to connect with anybody for her to be on her own yet? They've done nothing with this woman. They've done more with Marina Shafir than they've done with this fucking woman with Mercedes. Is it because that Tony Khan knows that it's not working? Like the shtick with Mercedes is not clicking for a lot of people. So now Tony Khan is pulling the plug. Regardless, it's a weird decision to make because you just formed these two. Right. And Camille is still brand new to this fucking roster. And now you're going to have teasing this potential split to go on her own? The fuck? I don't understand it. Brian, everything as a whole, man, what are your thoughts? Even NXT, from what I said earlier, what are your final thoughts before we wrap things up?
My final thoughts on this day, man, is Jesus Christ. With everything going on, I'm happy that wrestling is something that entertains me. I enjoy watching, and with bitching about it, celebrating it, whatever, man. It's something I appreciate this platform and the people that come and watch and wrestling fans and all that. Because Jesus Christ, right now, I fucking need it. So that's where I'm at.
No, very well said, man. Again, we said it all the time, regardless what we like or dislike, and we critique, right, with our very, objective criticism when it comes to these shows. But at the end of the day, man, it never takes away the enjoyment that we have as pro wrestling fans. It never does, right? But it's important for us, especially for me personally, just coming from me, right, to have this platform to where I'll tell you what I like and dislike, right? I'll give you my opinion, but then there's times to where I got to be fucking honest and just straight up real with y'all, to where something is just good, whether something's bad, and where something makes sense and whether it doesn't make sense. And if I'm not doing that, then I'll be honest with you, I really shouldn't have this platform because I wouldn't be any different than anybody else, really. But very well said, Brian. Yeah, with all the shenanigans around the world and everything, pro wrestling, we're very, objective with our takes and our criticisms. But at the end of the day, we're pro wrestling fans. This will always be something that we'll love, and that will never change. But as far as NXT and AEW concerned, I mean, look, both shows collectively had their issues. Both collectively have had their really good stuff, right? Yep. What show was better? Eye of the beholder, honestly. If obviously NXT is probably going to take the ratings grab from this head-to-head, probably that because they've done that now for the last several head-to-heads over the last year or so. So it wouldn't shock me if AEW unfortunately kind of takes a massive dip to where NXT for this week, because it is the ECW, original arena or whatever, the 2300 arena in Philly. Obviously NXT is going to have more of that fan interest because of that, because of the nostalgia of ECW. So, but still, man, collectively, you could say either or was a good show back and forth, But I do love, man, and to kind of, again, to wrap things up, I love this said competition, man. I love it. This is where, guys, when it comes to, because listen, there's tribalism everywhere in this world. Like everything, and that includes pro wrestling, man. But it's stuff like this to where the said competition is what's going to bring the best out of everybody. That includes WWE, NXT, and that includes AEW.
Yeah,
and the more competition like this, to where it was a massive benefit back in the day in the 90s, right, with WCW and WWE, and it brought the best out of each company to put on the best quality television show possible. And we need more type of, competition like this, man. This is like healthy competition, not toxic freaking schmucks on the internet. They want to wave the AEW or WWE flag. No, if that's what you think that this platform is, you're on the wrong fucking platform. We're a community, we're a platform and a podcast to where we want collectively every single wrestling promotion to bring the best out of one another. And it's competition like this that's going to do that. So hopefully there's more 100%. Of it. Hopefully there's more of it moving forward. And we'll see how the momentum shifts going into full gear. For WWE, goes into NXT Deadline as well as Survivor Series. So time will only tell. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and TikTok. That is Ruthless_Talk. Make sure you guys check us out on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button down below. And of course, check us out. Once again, we are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So like I mentioned earlier, I will be doing a collaboration as of tomorrow. That'll be when the collaboration starts with Carlo. Shout out to Carlo, who is known as the Average Sports Guy on social media. I will be doing a collaboration with him as of tomorrow. That episode should probably be out sometime this weekend for you guys to check out. So if you want to check out, I'll be posting all over social media for you guys to check out that latest collaboration, as we'll talk, of course, Crown Jewel. We'll talk about the state of WWE and a bunch of other fun stuff that we're going to go over. So make sure you guys check out all of it. And we got the roundtable coming up, Survivor Series roundtable. That should be a lot of fun. We got many special guests. Right? 2 weeks, man. It's crazy. It felt like we just had the SummerSlam roundtable, and here it is. We got the Survivor Series roundtable, our second Survivor Series roundtable. It's been a full year since we've been doing these roundtables. It gets more fun as the years and days goes on. So it'll be a good time to have fellow guests that we have planned for the show. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. So as always, y'all, stay tuned for more content and stay tuned for more episodes to come. Brian, any final thoughts before we end things?
No, man, you summed it up, dude. I agree with everything you said, man. As far as like the competition thing, you nailed it, dude. That's back in the 90s, the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars. That's why it was so good for that few years there, is because
absolutely,
they really were competing, and it was, at least in the beginning, healthy, So
absolutely, yeah. For sure. And listen, if you're somebody that waves a certain flag, if you're a tribalist for a certain company, go touch grass, right? Just go enjoy the sunshine, go do something, man, because, you're not helping wrestling. You're not helping wrestling become better as what it should be. And that's the only advice I got for people. So we'll see. Time will only tell to see where everything goes. And stay tuned once again for more content to come. That is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
Until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off saying salute.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Top guys, out.
The skin is dry and pale. The pain will never fail. And so we go.